The year was 1918. The war had been raging for 4 relentless years. Millions were dead, empires were collapsing, and still no end was in sight. Then came the final year, a storm of desperation, strategy, and sacrifice. This wasn't just the conclusion of a global conflict, it was the violent rebirth of the world. Before we begin, like and subscribe to Shadow Force for more war history and animated tactical breakdowns. After years of neutrality, the United States entered World War I in 1917, but it wasn't until 1918 that American troops arrived in Europe in significant numbers. Their arrival changed the dynamic of the war. With fresh manpower, supplies, and industrial might, the U.S. reinvigorated the Allies at a time when exhaustion and despair threatened to break the line. The psychological impact alone shifted the momentum. Germany knew time was now working against them. These American forces were untested, but highly motivated. Their presence alone suggested that the Central Powers' window of opportunity was closing, and it forced German generals to accelerate their plans for one final, decisive blow. In March 1918, Germany launched Operation Michael, the first wave of a massive offensive known as the Kaiserschlag. With Russia out of the war, German High Command redirected nearly 50 divisions to the Western Front, hoping to break the stalemate before American forces could fully mobilize. Using new infiltration tactics and elite stormtrooper units, German forces punched holes through Allied trenches. For a brief period, it seemed victory might be within reach. Towns were captured, positions overrun. It was the first major movement on the Western Front in years, but the cost was immense. German logistics were overstretched, their men exhausted. They advanced so rapidly that supply lines couldn't keep up. Without tanks or reliable trucks, they relied on horse-drawn wagons and foot soldiers to support a modern war. It wasn't sustainable. In August 1918, the Allies launched a series of coordinated counteroffensives. At the Battle of Amiens, British tanks, French artillery, and American infantry advanced together in one of the first examples of modern combined arms warfare. The results were immediate and dramatic. German lines broke. Prisoners were taken by the thousands. Aircraft supported the push from above, while tanks paved the way through barbed wire and machine gun nests. The tide had turned. From August to November, the Allies launched multiple successful operations, collectively known as the 100 Days Offensive. Battles at Saint-Mihiel and Meuse-Argonne showcased American strength, while British and French troops reclaimed miles of territory. German morale collapsed. Mutinies erupted. Commanders couldn't contain the panic spreading through their ranks. Despite battlefield advances, life in the trenches remained a nightmare. Soldiers endured freezing rain, lice, toxic gas, and near-constant artillery. Winter made it worse. Mud turned to ice and frostbite became common. By the final months of 1918, many soldiers were physically and mentally broken. Cases of shell shock rose dramatically. Medical facilities were overwhelmed, and the knowledge that the war might end soon didn't lessen the daily danger of sudden death. This winter was marked not by dramatic charges, but by silent suffering, and for many it was a time of reflection, wondering if the fight had been worth it or if peace would ever truly come. As the Allies advanced on the front, empires were unraveling across Europe. Austria-Hungary faced civil unrest and ethnic fragmentation. The Ottoman Empire was losing territory rapidly, and Germany was cracking from within. Revolutions, hunger strikes, and worker revolts erupted in Berlin. Kaiser Wilhelm abdicated. The once mighty German Empire dissolved under the weight of its own failure. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed the armistice. The war was over, at least on paper. But the consequences of the conflict were just beginning to take shape. The Treaty of Versailles would attempt to cement peace, but instead sowed resentment, particularly in Germany. The world was left with broken nations, wounded soldiers, and a dangerous vacuum of power. World War I did not end in triumph. It ended in exhaustion, disillusionment, and broken promises. In our next and final World War episode, Shadow Force will explore how the so-called peace of 1919 created more chaos than calm, planting the seeds of World War II. Like and subscribe to Shadow Force for military history, animated maps, and untold war stories from the front lines to the strategy rooms.